Hello, I'm Shanti. Good morning.
Om Shanti, and good morning to you, brother.
Good morning, Lynette Ben. How are you?
I'm doing just great, thank you.
Good to see you. Shanti. I can see Barbara Ben. Shanti to you. Good morning. Good morning, Ambika Ben. Shanti.
Morning.
Morning. And Shayla Ben, good morning. Shanti to you.
Om Shanti, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Juliet Ben. Great to see you.
Good morning, Om Shanti. Good morning.
And is that Sister Lynn? Shanti to you. Good morning. So I hope you're all well. Hello. Hello. I hope you're all well. So great to have you all today. I want to cover two topics today. One is this, there's one that's intriguing me this week, remembrance as invocation. So I want to read a few extracts to you shortly to stimulate your thinking and get your further thoughts on that. And then we'll see how the time goes, and we might read a Murli on karmic accounts, because for me that's been another topic that's been coming out this week, maybe 7 to 10 days in the Murli, that don't let karmic accounts get in your way at confluence age. You know, there's something about obstacles, internal and especially internal ones, that are blocking us from absorbing from Baba, clearing our accounts. Maybe they come and take us right away from Baba, and so on. So those are the two topics I want to cover today. But before we do that, over to all of you. What's in your mind? Anything you'd like to ask or share?
I think we're okay. In fact, I'm okay. I'm happy that you picked up those topics because I believe it's what is coming into all our minds now, that these past thoughts and these, maybe it's past karmic accounts that keep flooding the mind like that. And I'm so happy to hear that you're bringing up this topic this morning. So I'm looking forward to that piece of it.
Yeah, hopefully you all had a chance to listen to the English version of the Borg messages this week. And the third one, they've only, I think, begun broadcasting this more, or I've only discovered it more recently from the Jaipur Center. And I think it was my favorite Borg message of the year. I mean, many of them are really good, but this Baba observing there's so much noise going inside of the children, you know, it's just far too noisy. And I think it just has stayed with me. And then you bring it into the broader narrative about karmic accounts. I think the one from Shanti Bhavan the week before was about thoughts coming in your way as obstacles in your remembrance. So I think there's something there that we do need to look deeper at. So yeah, we'll look at that.
I had a similar thought, brother, that I was pleasantly surprised because those, particularly the remembrances, invocation, that was something that I had on my mind. So thank you.
Yeah, it's great. We'll take that up in a few minutes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, it sounds like people are happy for me to begin and give you some material to think on, and then we can chat further. So what I've done here is used the Murli search engine that's produced. I put it up some time ago into the WhatsApp group. I can put it up again, and it's quite helpful. Like we have it in university libraries where it's like an online search of different books, and brothers and sisters have taken the time to put all of Baba's Murlis, or many of Baba's Murlis, into this and compiled it. So you're able to search a keyword and it comes up with extracts, and you can then even go into the full Murli. So let me just read some of the extracts, because when I was looking at this yesterday, I actually couldn't find a single Murli on this topic of invocation. But Baba mentions it in different contexts, in different Murlis, in shorter passages. So let's run through a few of them. This first one is from 22nd October 1970. So you'll appreciate these are extracts. I'm not quite sure what's gone before in the Murli or what's coming after in the Murli. Until now, the result is that you have only spread the sound. You have passed in spreading the sound, but you now have to invoke souls to bring them closer to the Father. The sound has spread, but you have to invoke the souls. The effort of invoking souls and bringing them closer still remains, because although you have the desire to stay beyond sound, you yourself do not have that practice. This is why the sound is only spreading through sound. Interesting line, isn't it? So at the moment, Baba's message is only really spreading through words. So the sound is only spreading through sound, because we don't have the practice of remaining beyond sound. However, the more you stay beyond sound and invoke your own perfection, the more you will be able to invoke other souls. So a lot in that, isn't there? Even in those few lines, we've got the invocation of souls, we've got the invocation of our own perfection. At present, although you invoke your stage, the result, so we've got the invocation of our stage as well. So sometimes we think of a stage as something we've got to build, we've got to create. But this is another way of looking at this, isn't it? Invoking your stage, it's something that's already there. It's got to be invoked. At present, although you invoke your stage, the result is that it comes and goes. Because of this coming and going, what happens? So it's an interesting connection. Because of this coming and going, souls also come and go. However, after they have been invoked, you have to perform the task of making them sacrifice. They are attracted to knowledge, but you have to attract them to the one who is knowledgeful. Even now, you master creators are sometimes attracted to the creation. And this is why the proof that each of you gives is according to your own stage, as to how you are at present. So that's that first type of invocation. So the invocation of the stage and the invocation of other souls. The next is what Baba was talking about in the Murli this week, the invocation of the Father. So this extract is 30th January 1975, and it's from group meetings. Changing from corporeal to avyakt in the speed of a second, what one deep desire or thought are all of you now sitting in? To invoke the Father and to celebrate a meeting with the Father, of the Father with the children. Since you are able to invoke the Almighty Authority Father with love, so what are the two things that we need to invoke the Almighty Authority Father? One of them is love. What do you think would be the second one?
It would be
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
with love and faith.
Love and faith. Yeah. Anyone else want to give any ideas?
Power.
Power.
Yes, I said it at the same time.
Yeah, doubly powerful, isn't it? Both of you had power at the same time. So with love and determined thought, and I think the meaning of determined thought is faith and power. So I think you're all right. So since you are able to invoke the Almighty Authority Father with love and determined thought, are you not able to invoke any particular power that you feel you yourself may be lacking? So here we've got the invocation of the Father and of the powers. So since you're able to invoke the Almighty Authority Father with love and determined thought, are you not able to invoke any particular power that you feel you yourself may be lacking or weak in? Since with the power of love and with the power of having claimed all rights and with the power of a close relationship with him, you are able to make Baba come into the corporeal from the Avyakt just through your remembrance. So he's added a few things in there, so let me read that again. Since with the power of love, with the power of having claimed all rights, I always feel it sounds a bit funny in English when I read it that way. In Hindi, it means adhikari, and that feeling like where you felt a sense of ownership over your parents, over a brother and sister. That's the sentiment behind this, claiming all rights. So it's that feeling that you have a right there because you sort of you have a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership. So with the power of love, with the power of having claimed all rights, and with the power of a close relationship with him, you are able to make Baba become corporeal from Avyakt just through your remembrance. In the same way, are you not able to invoke every power and make yourself Avyakt from corporeal? So we've got two dynamics here, haven't we? We've got the dynamic of invoking the powers from above, from the Almighty into us, then invoking ourselves upwards into the subtle. So that's another form of invocation. Since it is easy to bring the Father into the corporeal from the Avyakt, why is it difficult to make yourself Avyakt? Literally, the word Vyakt means manifested, V-Y-U-K-T. It's featured in the Hindu scripture, the Gita as well. This word is used. And in there, it's like God says, Med Avyakt Jizo, I am an Avyakt thing. And then, of course, they show that Krishna, the bodily being, is saying that I am Avyakt. So it doesn't quite match. But when Shiv Baba says it to us, we can understand what he means, that he is unmanifested. I mean, he doesn't have a body of his own. So Avyakt means that Brahma Baba also doesn't have a physical body of his own at the moment. So you can bring the Father into the corporeal form from the Avyakt. Why is it difficult to make yourself Avyakt? The stories of the old days are very well known. As soon as you clap, everything or any person appears in front of you, or angels reveal themselves. This story of angels is very well known. To whom do the stories refer? Who are the angels of knowledge? And who are the angels that fly in the three worlds? So I'll have to look up what story that is. It would either be referring to like the fairies of heaven in Hinduism, or it could be something from the Quran. So let me look that up and get back to you. Who are the angels of knowledge and the angels who fly in the three worlds? You consider yourself to be those, do you not? You have both the wings of knowledge and remembrance, do you not? You're able to reach the incorporeal world from the corporeal world in 1 second with the power of knowledge and remembrance, that is, with these wings, are you not? Do you angels know how to clap so that whatever power you need, the moment you have that thought or invoke that power, it arrives? Now, then the next extract is 7th January 1977. So you have to have the extract starts midway through a sentence, unfortunately. You will have for remaining stable in the stage of silence, of being beyond sound. While stable in this stage, you are constantly able to experience supersensory joy. With this stage of supersensory joy, you will easily be able to invoke other souls. Now, this was actually one of the Murlis that I read yesterday. So if I just go into a bit, because it was only one section of this that so this topic of this 7th January 77 is how to become a world benefactor. Are all of you able to experience the stage of remaining stable in your form of being beyond sound for a long period of time? Are you able to remain stable in the experience of then coming into sound for a longer period? Or are you able to experience the stage of being beyond sound for a longer period? The closer you come to your final stage, which is the karmatit stage, the more love you will have for remaining stable in the stage of silence, of being beyond sound. So this is where the extract started. So the bit that we were missing, the closer you come to your final stage, which is the karmatit stage, the more love you will have for remaining stable in the stage of silence, of being beyond sound. Well, stable in this stage, you are constantly able to experience supersensory joy. With this stage of supersensory joy, you will easily be able to invoke other souls. This powerful stage is called the world benefactor stage. Just as nowadays through science, you're able to experience things to be very close. A distant sound is heard to be very close by way of the telephone. A scene somewhere far away is very clearly visible with your TV. In the same way, are you able to make the message reach souls through silence? No matter how far away they may be, they should experience it as though someone was physically coming to give them a message in the corporeal form. When you read religious stories, the ancient scripture stories, this is what they say, isn't it? That it's always someone came as a vision in front of someone. The story after story, you go right around the world in the different cultures, someone had a visionary experience. So something happens when a religion is being established. You tend to get a lot of visionary experiences, and people begin to feel someone special is about to be born, something special is about to happen. So we're at this cusp now, aren't we, of a new religion being established. So no matter how far away they may be, they should experience it as though someone was physically coming to give them a message in the corporeal form. While sitting at a distance, they will experience a vision of you and see the divine activities of God as though it is happening personally in front of them. You would be visible through thoughts That is, you would be playing the part of attaining success through thoughts. That is, of being beyond sound. However, the method to attain this success is to stabilize for the maximum time in your form of silence. This is why it is said, there's an English saying from the Logic world, silence is golden. This is said to be the golden aged stage. So Baba's suggesting that even in the golden age, we will be in this stage of silence. Certainly, we don't have anything to disturb us, we know that. But like Baba was saying in the message on Thursday, that you've got so much noise inside of you now, and that's an Iron Age stage, isn't it? But a golden age stage. Do we really need to think so much? Do we really need to speak so much? This is why it is said silence is golden. This is said to be the golden age stage. By remaining stable in this stage, you will be able to bring about greater glorification through less expenditure. You will be able to have greater results through less expenditure of your treasures, of your time, energy, physical resources. For this, simply remember one word. What is that one word? Balance. Let there be balance. When Baba uses the word balance, he means two things simultaneously. That's the meaning. So, like karma yoga, he wants both at the same time. Let there be balance in your every deed, thought, and word, in your relationships and connections. Then, rather than ordinary, your words, deeds, thoughts, relationships, and connections will be seen as alokik. That is, they will seem miraculous. From everyone's lips and mind, the sound would emerge that this one is miraculous. According to the time, the speed of your effort and the speed of world service have to be very fast. Only then would you be called a world benefactor. The souls of the world are invoking the revelation of you specially loved soul. So next invocation here, the souls of the world. I think it was the previous Thursday where we had 2 or 3 bold messages about devotees invoking the Brahmins, looking for the Brahmins. And so he's saying that their deities are actually here, but you're not in your stage of fullness, so they're still looking for you, even though you're here. The specially loved souls, so the souls of the world are invoking the revelation of you, specially loved souls, and the Father. However, the specially loved souls are not invoking those souls so much. And what is the reason for this? You are taking too much time for your own limited household of your own nature and sanskar. Just as souls without knowledge do not have time to listen to knowledge, in the same way, many Brahmins do not have the time to remain stable in that powerful stage. This is why there is a need to become the form of intense fire. On seeing everyone's household, Bapdada smiles because everyone has become too busy. You remain very busy, don't you? In your original stage, you would constantly remain free. You would attain success and also remain free. Since the instruments of science can be controlled from Earth when they go into space, and the spaceships are able to be turned, and when needed, they can be embodiments of the power of silence. And they can be, since the instruments of science can be controlled from Earth when they go into space, and the spaceships are able to be turned as and when needed, then can the embodiments of the power of silence not serve any soul through any kind of service they wish in the corporeal world on the basis of their elevated thoughts? However, for this, you have to remain beyond your household. That is, you have to remain beyond. So, do you understand what you have to do? Show the balance of serving through sound, serving with physical means, and serving by being beyond sound, with the subtle method of the greatness of thoughts. the power of thoughts, and the drums of distraction will beat. You understand? So, lots in there. And I'm just switching back to the extract to see if there's any bit that we didn't cover. Now, so that's the invocation here of the goddesses that Baba mentioned this week. No matter, so yes, first point is the next part of invocation is how matter, the 5 elements, are invoking. Matter will also show you the rehearsals for the future here at the end. No matter how much fluctuation there is everywhere through any of the elements, where you masters of matter are, matter will become a servant and serve you. You simply become conquerors of matter. Matter, which means nature, the 5 elements, is invoking you masters of matter from today. That will be a divine day when matter will garland the masters. Do you remember we were mentioning last week how it comes in Devi Prakash Mani's Borg message that when she left her body and went to the subtle region, the 5 elements were waiting to garland her. And so I was saying that will be a divine day when matter will garland the masters. Which garland will she put around you? And then I was talking about just as matter is invoking you, are all of you also invoking your complete stage in the same way? The devotees will invoke Lakshmi, and what will you invoke? They invoke the goddess of wealth, and all of you invoke the stage of blessing. May you be wealthy. So celebrate Deep Mala Diwali in this way. And the final one is, this is Brahma Baba meeting the double foreign children around Christmas in 1983. So Brahma Baba Dada is saying that Bab Dada had been invoking the double foreign children for a long time. I invoked the children so many years ago, and it is due to that invocation that you have come from abroad and reached the Father here. So there must definitely be special children who have been invoked for a long time and who come after having been invoked for a long time. Father Brahma has invoked you with a lot of love in order to make you heirs in the corporeal form. Do you understand? You continue to hear how you were given birth so many years ago, do you not? So, in Baptada's mind, the Brahmins had given birth a long time ago. Even if physically we become a Brahmin later. And the devotees are invoking you with great force while worshipping gods, goddesses, the Shaktis in the form of shaligrams. They even renounce their most loved sleep and cry out loudly while invoking you. wondering when their special deities, the bestowers of blessings, the great donor souls will hear them. They wonder when they will have their attainment from not having any attainment. So in the same way, because the time is now so close, together with the devotees, even the elements are now invoking you and wondering when their Satopradhan masters will be pleased with them. As soon as you begin to rule, the elements will adopt their Satopradhan costume. Are you able to see and hear the elements and the devotees invoking you? Together with these two invoking you, Bapdada, on the other hand, is also invoking you to become equal and perfect and become an angel, a resident of the subtle region, and return home with the Father. You must constantly continue to invoke your final stage and your final perfect form. When you invoke someone, that consciousness remains in your intellect all the time. Similarly, if you constantly continue to invoke your perfect form, then that will be in your consciousness all the time. And you would be liberated from the cycle of coming and going. Sometimes you are stable in an elevated stage, and sometimes you come down, and you will be liberated from this. Okay. And just to add into powers, so these powers and these virtues are all your servers. So there's virtues as well. Invoke them and they become present in front of you. Because of having weaknesses, those who are powerful become defeated, even while having powerful weapons. So learn how to invoke and order them. Sit on the elevated throne of your original stage. Okay, so lots of things there. And would anyone like to come in with their reflection?
I would like to say something. It's like a light bulb has gone off in my head with that idea of the invocation. Two things. One is, you know, these things are in the Murli all the time, and it's like it's not read or heard for me. And suddenly it's like the first time I'm hearing it. But the light bulb was, if I can invoke my perfect form, then I need not be struggling to create it each time, because it's there. It's already there. And I just need to invoke it instead of trying to create it, particularly at times when often it's harder, the more challenges one's going through, the harder it is to create that stage of silence and soul consciousness. But if I think, well, I'm already that, I just have to invoke it and become that. And then I was thinking about, you know, Bob was telling us to remember our five stages. And in practicing it, what I found is that it was more an invocation, because I can see myself in those forms in my mind's eye, and so it's almost just connecting with it. So I was making that connection that if I can do that with the five forms, then part of that by form is being my perfect stage at this point in the cycle. And so I am doing it, but I've been seeing it as two separate things. One, my Brahmin stage now, but not connected it with being using that perfect stage now to help me move around the cycle. Don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the light bulb for me.
Yeah, I echo your comment about it coming alive this week. So when Baba said it this week, I somehow, it sat with me in a different way. And then I think you're right. I think you put it nicely. You remember I was commenting on the picture of the staircase a few weeks ago, and that picture of the staircase, we've got to flip it around. So you put the iron on the top and the golden on the bottom. And what you've got is those 42 layers, those 42 steps of iron, then 21 steps of copper. And those are on the forefront of our consciousness. And then deeper inside of us, we've got the silver layer and then the golden layers. And the way Baba sees it is those 5 forms, they are the innate samskars of the soul, and the rest are the acquired samskars of the soul. And Baba often says to us, when you say my nature, my samskars, what are you talking about here? Are you talking about your nature and your sanskars, or are you talking about Ravan's nature and Ravan's sanskars? So he asks us to disassociate with this, depersonalize this, because identification, it sort of creates an attachment. But like you're saying, it is about invocation. And I think another week we can talk about emerging as well. So I think there's something there about invocation, emerging. I can remember once when Lady Jenke was reading the Murli, she was saying, you know, it's all about emerging. It's more subtle. You know, we talk about creating sanskars, but you already have the deity sanskars buried inside of you. How can they go away? That is you after everything else has been stripped away. And the language Baba uses is alloy. You know, an alloy has been mixed inside of. A rust has formed on the, you know, these things are more superficial, aren't they? Rust is more superficial. But then the alloy is something acquired, isn't it? It's not innate. That's the whole point of the alloy. And usually you create an alloy to toughen something up, like something in its original, for example, steel, for example, for hundreds of years, when it was discovered that steel made a sword stronger, it was lighter and stronger. That revolutionized warfare because it was an alloy. So what happens in the copper and iron age? We're too soft, so we find we've got to add an alloy to deal with it. How do we cope suddenly? Baba was talking today about Bhakti and Ravan being the stages of degradation. Suddenly we've got death, suddenly we've got accidents, suddenly we've got natural calamities. How do we cope? So we add these alloys in to make ourselves tougher. Like, I don't think deities are resilient. Deities don't have to be. So we're very soft as we're leaving the Silver Age. And it's almost like this survival instinct begins to kick in, which causes us to add alloys all the time. But then when you add too many alloys, it becomes weaker. This is the thing about metals. So if we remember that the self that I know at the end of the Iron Age is a very mixed alloy. But the self that Baba sees is that innate self. And so when he says, change the I, change the mind, he's talking about that. And that I and the mind is invocation. You're quite right. I think you put that nicely. And that is what he was just saying in one of the extracts, that if you just remember your perfect form the whole day, that's what is an invocation, because you're then not busy to think about other things. You're too busy to think about other things. You're just keeping your energy on one thing, and that's what creates the invocation. The stories in Hinduism are of such and such a devotee standing on one leg for 50 years, and like grass is growing on them, there's ant hills growing on them, and they're just standing on one leg in a pose, and then Brahma appears in front of them to bless them. So these are the stories of invocation in Hinduism, that you got to do this, concentrate it over a period of time if you want to be blessed. Baba is making everything much easier for us, but it still requires a level of concentration on our part. So, yeah, I think you're completely right in what you're saying. Thank you. Would anyone else like to come in?
Can I ask a question about ego? You said this is like the alloy which we mix in us. But for the confluence age, don't we need that ego to deal with the other side of us to an extent? So it's almost, as you mentioned earlier, a balance. We need a balance of both. But of course, preferring and invoking more the soft, dainty, perfect self. So any thoughts on that?
My experience is that as we become more full, we need our ego less. So for the way I look at egolessness is I need my ego less. Ego is a need, right? So Baba put this very nicely on Thursday in the Om Shanti Bhavan Bhog message. He said some Brahmins, there's an artificial stage. So externally, everyone thinks this is a great Brahmin. They're making great efforts. But actually, Baba can see the soul is empty inside. So there's a danger that we can just transpose our old habits with ego into our Brahmin life. And Brahmin life can just become a career, basically. So if you're a normal human being, you're not really thinking about your internal stage, are you? Everything is about that ego. You are judged by that ego. Everyone relates to you on the basis of that ego. So everyone has so much fear about reputation, image. And I often say that my conclusion is that all of body consciousness is based on one sanskar, seeing myself in other people's vision. That is my conclusion over my years of efforts. And therefore, that sanskar is the one that has to go. That one goes. That dependency that I must feel good about myself or bad about myself, depending on how you see me. And in body consciousness, we become experts in reshaping ourselves according to the situation and the person. So through the day, the thing about ego is you're never really yourself. I'm always a creation of what that person wants me to be, or what I think they want me to be, and that situation, I think that situation wants me to be. So what we define as success is success in society's vision, others' vision, and so on. But what do we find? What is the reality? I mean, there's not a week that goes by where I become slightly, I don't know why I'm surprised, but such and such a celebrity says, I was struggling with this addiction, such and such. I mean, the greatest levels of alcohol and dependency and drug taking among the professions in the UK are doctors and lawyers, very highly skilled people. But that internal fullness that Baba's talking about is always far away. And people have to spend their lives just coping, really, with their real internal self. And it catches up with you. It catches up with you either in terms of physical health, mental health, comes out in negative relationships. It catches up with you. So Baba is saying to us, children, Brahmin life is about authenticity. Now, your starting point is your Tama Pradhan. So who are you kidding? So ego is about kidding, isn't it? Baba tells us you're actors. The soul is an actor. And I worked with children for many years, and you can observe children from a very young age. They're analyzing how they can gain approval. So what happens is from a very young age, we are learning to analyze. How can I gain approval? How can I make people laugh? How can I get attention? And we carry on with those sanskars the whole of our lives. It's just that we have them in different contexts. So what we've got to be careful of as Brahmins is we don't just carry on that nature. Otherwise, look at what Baba's conclusion is. We're still empty on the inside. I mean, that is not the stage we want to hear Baba observing in Brahmins. But it takes a lot of courage to let go of ego. So, for example, in my journey, I was young anyway, came as a child, and that. So what happens is you sort of build up a Brahmin image of yourself. And then I had to go through a process of deconstruction and then a reconstruction. So you can find this because we come into Brahmin life, and for most of us, we experience Baba's love firstly through the family. And we are being sustained through the family, and that means we are being shaped by humans' vision, really. And that experience of being fulfilled just by one takes a number of years of yoga, in my experience. You know, it's like you're building bit by bit, you're gathering your consciousness, you're being able to take it up. So I think Baba knows that for some years, for most of us, we will be using our ego. But he expects us to need that less and less and less, day by day. So the process of Amrit Vela is that process of filling us up. And like the sister was just saying about the practice of the 5 forms, we're being taught to develop an ego, if we want to call it that, or I prefer to say self-respect or self-esteem, that is based on these unlimited consciousnesses. So they're like non-visible, aren't they? Those 5 identities, they're like non-external. And so that means that we are breaking our dependency. I've said this before to all of you. My experience in my journey is that my head is about 10 years quicker than my heart. So in my head, I'm practicing the 5 forms, but my heart seems to reach there some years later. So, for example, now I've been toiling away, I suppose, for about 25 years. And I would say now I'm reaching a point where I don't feel I need the ego. Don't feel I need it. So there's that greater feeling of fulfillment. There's that healing that's occurred. And so do I need it anymore? Can I just have that courage because I've got nothing that I can lose anymore? Because I am not that, I've got nothing to gain anymore. So I have to convince myself inside that I cannot gain anything more from the ego. It won't add to me anymore. Otherwise, for thousands of years, we are convinced that we're losing something if we lose our ego. We're losing something if we lose our attachments. So because of that, our heart takes some years to be convinced because it's been a long time. I think with souls like Mama and Baba, it didn't take them time. So this point about invocation was, we hear this from Shiv Baba, that Brahma had a vision and he then invoked his perfection. So the daddies just began having visions of Krishna because he's invoked. Exactly what Baba was just telling us in the Murli. That happened. Like they were in their dreams, Krishna and Brahma would appear. As Daddy Janki used to say, that she was walking in the park with her father. Brahma Baba was walking the other way towards them. She just looked at him and she saw Vishnu. So he is invoked. Within 2 years, the daddies began to call Mama Mama, and they began to feel this is a goddess. She's not like us. She's invoked. And back in 1997, I had gone to Mother Ben for just 4 days before the season had started. And Daddy Janki had told Daddy Prakash Mani that I was coming. I was 19 years old at the time. And Daddy Prakash was waiting for me in the courtyard when I was coming with one car from another place in India, from the Ahmedabad Lotus House Center. And as soon as I arrived, Daddy Prakash said, come. I said, Daddy, shall I shower and then come? So she was like, and then Sister Shashi explained, he's just going to shower and change and then come and meet you. She went, okay, come into the office then. So then I quickly did that. And it was only her and Ishu Daddy. It was Baba's old office. So Ishu Daddy was behind the desk. And Daddy Prakashani was just sitting on the chair opposite, and I was on the chair opposite. And she looked at me and said, do you want to ask any questions? And I said, yes, that you're the best instrument in the yajna. How have you become such a good instrument? I would like to become as good instrument. And there was, I don't know if I can convey this feeling in what I'm just about to share, but hopefully you can catch the feeling. It is a feeling that has stayed with me. She said, Daddy has no consciousness of herself. It just stayed with me. In Hindi, Daddy ko koi ahem nahi. And you know, it was something that I've thought about for over and over the years. And meeting Daddy Gulzar, you know, thinking about who were the two daddies that Brahma Baba handed over to. His role of administering the yajna to Daddy Prakash Mani. His role of being Shiv Baba's chariot to Daddy Gulzar. And then we know about Mama before that. And I think there's a common sanskar among Mama, Didi Manmani, Daddy Prakash Mani, Daddy Gulzar, and then the daddies who were really right with Baba, like Daddy Ishu, Daddy Lachu, that group that were very, very close inside of Baba's room, Baba's office. I think this was his criteria. They must have no consciousness of themselves. This is the requirement to be Shiv Baba's instrument. So I think for us, it's this process of cleaning away this ego. I think with some of these souls, they seem to have just not had it in the first place. It's like they just seem to have it more naturally, this egolessness. With most of us, certainly for me, it's a journey of unpicking, unpacking, unraveling things, getting things wrong, learning to get it right. And as I say, there's a fullness that's developing which creates a security so that I can feel safe enough to no longer need that ego anymore. Does that answer your question, sister? Do you want to come back?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Very, very clear. You know, as you say, it is a journey for the rest of us, unlike Mama and Baba. And yeah, no, extremely clear. Thank you.
I think so. I think we're becoming the instruments that Baba, like even in the Murlis we were just hearing, you've got to become a world benefactor. I think with these souls, they're right at the foundation. They had to be there to get things going. So they had that stage. Otherwise, there wouldn't even be this foundation. So Baba's expecting all of us to get there by the end, for sure. He needs the whole gathering. And then you can imagine Shiv Baba's energy flowing through all of the Brahmins, all 900,000 of that first generation. They must all be these clear diamonds. Do you remember that was the Borg message from the previous week, where Baba said he's looking at the gathering of diamonds, and as his drishti falls on each soul, it's as if he's removing the flaws from within the diamond. So I think this is the thing that when jewelers, Brahma Baba, as you all know, was a jeweler before. So when jewelers look at diamonds, they're actually very critical, like it's a cynical profession, because you're just looking for the slightest flaw, like it's just the slightest thing that no one else would notice, but they are looking very deeply inside. And so if you look at the Brahmins now, compared to the world, Brahmins are very good souls. But the standard, because the difference between a flawless diamond and a diamond with, they call it a feather, where there's a slightest, they call it even just a slightest thing, it's called a feather. So if there's a feather in a diamond, the value plummets. It's not that it's only one thing. The whole thing devalues. And this is what Baba's saying, that one bit of ego, that one bit of attachment, that'll be the bit that blocks you in that final stage. So the moment you are about to leave the body, that'll be the bit that deceives you. So the Buddha also used to talk about this in his teachings. He used to warn his monks, don't think you're ready for death. The one thing that you didn't think about, that's the bit that will come at the end. And so he was saying, to go to nirvana, you've actually got to almost always be ready for the thing you don't expect to come up. So this is what Baba is preparing us for. So I don't think we can carry on using the ego. I think this is why Baba's also been talking about the rosaries this week. Got the 8 jewels, the 108, the 16,108. My understanding is the 100, like, it's not a number anyway. Baba says it's not 108. It's just like a standard. These are just numbers from back there, however many achieve that standard. He hasn't got a limit on himself. He can put as many in there as he wants. But my understanding is the 8 didn't have to make effort. They switched on, and like my man Baba received Shiv Baba's introduction and went into constant yoga. But the 108 are Brahmins who have worked through and become victorious. So it's the rosary of victory. The 108 become like the 8 and like my man Baba, but after having worked through and struggled. The 8 and my man Baba, and there's one Murli where Baba says it's as if they got a special blessing of purity. So from the beginning, they've never had to struggle with impurity. And there's something in their karma from the past births which helps them at confluence stage. Whereas with most of us, the karmic accounts weigh us down, they form blockages. So we have to battle our way through. But the key is perseverance, because if we keep going, Baba said that yesterday in the blessing, look, I'm here to help, I'm here to cooperate, use me, we'll get there. So that's why for most of us, the aim is the 108 rather than the 8. But whenever people used to ask Daddy Janki that, she used to say, you never know, God is merciful. If you keep the aim to get in the A, you never know. He might decide he's going to put you in there. If you get there, you get there. Thanks for the question.
Well, thank you.
Ambika Ben, did you want to come in?
Yeah. Om Shanti, morning. What I was thinking is that for us to be able to invoke Baba, we first of all would have had to know Baba. Baba would have invoked us first. And what went through my mind was in the early days when Brahma Baba used to be at 2 in the morning, invoking the souls who hadn't come as yet. And that was with his thought power. And in these snippets today, it is clear that the power of silence is needed. This deep supersensuous silence is needed. And the silence in invoking my own self, my self-respect. And once I'm in this self-respect, which is require faith and love. If I don't have faith in myself, if I don't have the love for myself, I cannot invoke my powers, because I have to understand and recognize what Baba is saying, who I am. And I've always said that it is always keeping this awareness, having this awareness of who I am. And once that awareness is there, it's never constant, it's always you making the effort for that. But the more constant that becomes, this awareness that I am this child of God, I am this deity soul, then all the sanskars that are buried deep will begin to become more emerged. And with that, invocation becomes so much easier. Invocation of Baba and invocations of souls, other souls. And one of the things at the beginning of my Brahmin life is that when we took the knowledge and we started giving the course at Amrit Vela in particular, we bring the souls in front of Baba. So we invoke those souls and Baba will give whatever power is needed. Who is to become a Brahmin, who is to become a contact soul, that is in the drama. So you don't have any kind of desire that this should be this way, but drama takes care of it with your pure thought. And once I recognize with faith, love from the heart is needed. You can have all the faith. And if I don't have this love for myself, my love for Baba, recognizing what Baba is saying to me, recognizing this knowledge as truth, then I become weak. And for me, it is important. I don't do it as often as I should, and that's why these morning sessions really reminds me of what I have to do. Is that one time I used to very often not even go into the whole cycle, but churn myself within the two ages, golden and silver. And once you start seeing and believing, because you have to have that faith that Baba is saying, this is who I am, not to let the doubt come in. Because at the beginning, when Baba said I was a deity, I put a full stop to that thought. And because of all my past experience, it was something that I never saw myself being a deity. It eventually came where you saw, yes, this is real. The possibility was there, and then it became real. So it's just to emerge this back all the time, having this constant awareness at who I am. To bring Baba, to invoke Baba, it has to have this deep love from the heart. Heart has to be involved. To bring souls, to invoke souls, is the awareness of my part in this cycle, and my awareness that all of these souls, a genuine need and a genuine want, and a love for all souls, all of our children, whether you're Brahmins or no Brahmins, but to bring them into a better level, or a better version of themselves. So automatically what Baba is saying in these snippets today is that, from what I gathered, is that this deep power of silence means you are now not heavy where the world is concerned with all the materialistic things that are happening. But to be Trikaldarshi in that, because we know the three aspects of time, we know what the future is, and keeping that aim with the determination that this is where I have to be, this is where I am going. But I'm not going alone. I am going with all these souls who is also going, maybe at a different section within the journey back. All will come back. And the invocation on a personal level will come when I recognize that I am an ancestor soul. And if I understand that deeply, my love for all the souls from all the branches will be there. And this genuine love, I think, will be the driving force to be able to invoke souls, to bring them closer to Baba in whatever way it has to happen. So it's to be able to serve on that level. And the invocation is there, invocation of Baba, invocation of my original self, my pure self, and invocation of the souls of the world. And you know, as you brought up this topic, I was reminded that there was a CD, I don't know where it is, but I really have to look for it, where a sister, I don't know if it's Sharona, Ben, I don't know who it was, who did an entire 60-minute CD on invocation. And in that, from what I recall, because it's so much years I haven't listened to it, it was only of love and conversation with Baba, you know, and that helped me quite a bit in my early Brahmin life. So for me, invocation to be successful is this constant awareness and deep self-respect that has to be there for the self, and this deep love. This deep love. Faith, yes, that's what Baba has told us. Faith in the self, faith. Not faith in Baba, but faith in the self and deep love for Baba. That's what I took away from these snippets. Om Shanti.
So that was really good analysis and breakdown, and good reminder about this ancestor stage. It was in the Murli a couple of Sundays ago, wasn't it? That you're quite right, that there's a special power of the ancestors that we are tapping into, that's innate within us. And I think just one thing I would add into your analysis, and that's concentration. So I think that has to be the one thing that has to, probably the thing that we have to work on the most, because as you're saying, it's the love, it's the faith, but it's a determination, but it's that concentration that will be the ultimate ingredient as to whether the invocation will be successful or not. Baba was saying that if you keep coming up and down, coming and going, breaking, joining and breaking, you just don't get the energy that's needed to invoke something. So yeah, great breakdown. Would anyone else like to come in? So Ranjan Ben, you'll be aware that we were looking at those extracts yesterday evening, so I read them to the group. And have you brought a Murli? So, what are you thinking of reading? Yeah. Yeah. Have you got chosen a Murli?
Yeah, I read on the feet there. There's lots of nice ones.
As we were looking through the extracts, there's like invocation of Baba of the children. Baba was saying that so many years ago, Baba was invoking all the children. There's the invocation of our own perfect stage. So Baba was saying that when you invoke that stage, you'll be able to also invoke other souls. And the invocation, well, while we're in our stage beyond sound, Baba was saying that at the moment, the sound is only spreading through your sound. It's not spreading through your silence. Then the matter, 5 elements are invoking the masters of the element, and also the devotees are invoking. Do you want to make any comments on any of that? Okay. Do you want to choose the one?
Right.
Have you got a one?
As is the father, so is the child.
Okay.
There's about sanskars and nature
Okay.
and specialities
Sure, whatever you think is fine.
and love and enthusiasm.
Okay.
So Baba has been giving them sakar murlis and things like that.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
thank you, Venus.
So let's hear the Murli and then come back again with some more discussion on what we hear.
Because Baba has said, follow Brahma Baba and become Babsana. Yes, him. Om Shanti, good morning to all. This is the Murli of 9th March, 1984. And Baba says, as is the father, so is the child. Bap Dada is seeing all the children who are thirsty like oysters. They are also like the chatrak bird, thirsty for the first drops of nectar. And then there's explanation about the chatrak, C-H-A-T-R-A-K, is a kind of bird which lives only on dew and drinks it as it falls direct from the sky. So, after a long period of summer heat, the first rain, this bird catches the dew. And those who watched Mama were saying that Mama was like that, in history hall, she would sit in the garden and she was so concentrated, Baba, and she would catch everything. So Baba remembered her that her arrow, always hit the target accurately because she was honest, safdil, sachidil, and purity and Kumari. And so Baba remembered on Thursday, Baba said, Baba is the seed, and then remembered Mama. Everyone has the desire to listen, to meet, and finally to become. Each bird is the thirstiest. Each bird is the thirstiest bird. The capacity both to listen. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? I'll read it again. The chatrak is a kind of bird which lives only on dew and drinks it as it falls direct from the sky. Everyone has the desire to listen, to meet, and finally to become. Each bird is the thirstiest bird. The capacity both to listen and to meet is number-wise, and dependent on that is the ability to become equal. Nonetheless, all are elevated souls and all Brahmin souls are thirsty for all three stages. So, what are the three stages? To listen, to meet Baba, and finally to become like Baba. And Baba said, all of you are very thirsty for all three stages. The thirstiest souls are the ones who become Master Murli Dhar. So, Murli and then D-H-A-R, Murli Dhar, and Baba has explained the meaning, Master Magic Flute Players. Murli Dhar, Master Magic Flute Players. And as a result, are easily able to become Master Almighty authorities equal to the Father. To listen means to become the Murli Dhar, means Baba is training us to be Master Magic Flute Players like the Father. To meet means to stay in that company. So stay in Baba's company and be influenced by its color to such an extent that powers and virtues are equal to Baba's. To be influenced by this color and then to become means to be constantly like the Father, to follow in every step of thought, words, and action. Then the soul becomes the image of the Father. Let there be the experience that the child's thought is equal to that of the Father. And then let everyone else have the experience that as is the Father, so is the child, both in words and in actions. This is what the state of equality means, and it is applicable to the ones who are the thirstiest. Check all three aspects and ask yourself, who am I? The children's thoughts, which are filled with hope and enthusiasm, have reached Bap Dada. They are very good thoughts, full of courage and determination. The seed of thought is powerful, but, Baba is saying, but after that attention has to be paid first to the land of inculcation. So I read it again, that Baba said the seed of the thought is powerful. But after that attention has to be paid first to the land of inculcation, then to the water of the Ganges. So the first you have the powerful seed, and then Baba said the attention is on the plowing. Plowing the field means our intellect. Plow the intellect, make it so that it inculcates. So make the intellect so pure and free from other, like you plow the land. Then to the water of the Ganges, then the water of knowledge. It says in the bracket, the water of knowledge. And then to the sunshine, the warmth of remembrance. So the seed needs all this. The powerful thought is the seed, attention of the land to inculcate, and then water of knowledge, and then the warmth of sunshine, that is warmth of remembrance. Let attention be paid to the self again and again, for it is in this aspect that the soul sometimes becomes careless. So it is the attention soul has to pay to the self. Baba said again and again, like Ambika Ben said about the love. Even if one aspect is missing, then the seed of thought cannot give constant fruit. For a little while, perhaps for 1 or 2 seasons, fruit will emerge, but not constantly. Then you think, but the seed was powerful. The promise was firm. There was also clarity. And yet I don't know what happened. For about 6 months, there was so much enthusiasm and hope. And then, while going along, I was so much, I don't know what happened. So for about 6 months, there was so much enthusiasm and hope. And then whilst going along, I don't know what happened. And so for this reason, there must be constant attention to the things that have been just spoken about. Another thing is that confusion comes so quickly just because of little matters. And because of that, even something which is so small is built up and made into something so important. It could just be a tiny ant, and yet you make it into an elephant. This is why balance fluctuates. When there isn't balance, your life becomes heavy, so that either there is intoxication and you feel high. So when there isn't balance, when there is not a balance, your life becomes heavy, so that either there is intoxication and you feel high, or because of a tiny grain of sand, you come down. Instead of using knowledge to remove it within a second, you begin to think about the grain of sand. Do you understand?
I will after tomorrow.
After,
Yeah.
okay. You say, now this has happened and I have stopped. Now I have come down. All this has happened and I have become ill. I have a fever or a pain. If these are the things that you are thinking and saying, what will your state be? Baba is asking, if these are the things that you are thinking and saying, what will your state be? So erase all these little things that come and then you can fly. Don't become weak by thinking, look what's happening. Instead, take medicine so that you can become strong and healthy. Sometimes Bap Dada sees the faces of the children and wonders how they were one way a moment ago. Then the next moment, something has happened to them. So Baba is watching. Baba says, Baba watches what we do. He's not Jani Jananhar. He doesn't know everything inside, but he watches. So that's why Baba is saying, giving the result that sometimes Bap Dada sees the faces of the children and wonders how they were one way a moment ago. Then the next moment, something has happened to them. He wonders, is this the same one or is it someone else? He wonders, is this the same one or is it someone else? I think we also, when we see some people, we say that, isn't it, to children or grandchildren, and then laugh. So Baba also wonders, what happens if you let yourself fluctuate so much? Your head becomes heavy. Physically speaking too, if you keep going up and coming down, then your head spins. So transform this sanskar. Don't think that fluctuation is the nature of we people. It says in the inverted commas, we people is in a inverted commas. So Baba is saying, so transform this sanskar of going up and down, otherwise your head will spin. And then Baba says, don't think that fluctuation is the nature of we people. You know, this common saying that women have the right to change their minds, or, you know, all these common things. Baba says, no, don't think that way. Or that it is due to the land in which we live, or the atmosphere, or our sanskars from birth. Such beliefs weaken you. Your birth has changed, and so now change your sanskars also. You are the world transformers. And so first and foremost, you are self-transformers. Recognize your own eternal nature and sanskars, because it is these that are original. The others are artificial. So Baba mentioned this in a blessing also, but in their Thursday as message as well. Baba said that instead of looking something, but practice your original. And so Baba is reminding, recognize your own eternal nature and sanskars, because it is these that are original. The others are artificial. It has become accepted now to let Maya influence the soul by saying that what has happened is because of a sanskar or because of one's nature. But this is not the original eternal nature and elevated souls. So you are being reminded of these things so that you can pay attention to them again. Revision is taking place, but let the transformation be imperishable. There are many, many specialities. You are all number one in love, also in your enthusiasm for doing service. So Baba gave us this certificate. There are many, many specialities. You are all number one in love, also in your enthusiasm for doing service. Though physically far away, you are still very close. Your catching power is also very good. Also, the power of realization and feeling in general is very intense. You swing in the swing of happiness and sing very good songs, praising Baba and saying how wonderful Baba, the family and drama all are. So remember why Baba is saying this? Baba is speaking to double foreigners, because they started coming to Madhuban from, I think, 1975, 74. So it's about 9-10 years, and double foreigners had gone and sitting in front of Baba. That's why Baba is saying that you sing these songs and, you know, how wonderful Baba, the family and drama all are. Your speciality of determination is also very good, and recognition within the intellect is also very clear. You are the long lost and now found, and so specially loved both by Baba and the whole family. You are the decoration of Madhuban and create a very good sparkle here.
Shall we stop there?
You are, shall I just finish this one? Then I'll just stop when it comes to the group meeting. It's just a little bit. So, and then we get Baba's blessing also. You are also giving a very good example of how a variety of different branches from different trees can come together and create one sandalwood tree. Like you see Ambika Ben said about being a support, and so, but Baba calls us a sandalwood tree. And that's why sandalwood is very auspicious in Hindu bhakti. They use it a lot, a pure sandalwood. So Baba says you are also giving a very good example of how a variety of different branches from different trees can come together and create one sandalwood tree. How many specialities do you have? There are so many, and out of it all, only one weakness. So it is easy to erase this one thing, isn't it? All problems have now finished, haven't they? Just as you speak very openly about everything, so too you are number one in clearing out the heart and removing everything from it. If a rosary of specialities were created, it would be such a long rosary. And so, Bap Dada congratulates you. Transformation has taken place 99%, but 1% still remains. And so this transformation still has to take place. Do you understand? You see, you are all very good because even now you have changed your no into a yes. This is also a specialty. The answers that you give are very good ones. And so if you were asked, are you powerful? Are you victorious? Then you would say, I am as from now. And so this shows that the power of transformation is very intense. There is just one sanskar, and that is the sanskar of being confused either by a little ant or by a mouse. Be the Mahavir, brave warrior, brave soldier. Be the Mahavir and crush the ant under your feet and start riding the mouse. Let it be your vehicle. Ganesh, Baba is mentioning Ganesh with the elephant head, the deity. Be the Mahavir and crush the ant under your feet and start riding the mouse. Let it be your vehicle and become Ganesh. That is, become the destroyer of obstacles and start riding your mouse. Don't be afraid of the mouse. The mouse bites and takes away all powers. It destroys the power of tolerance. It puts an end to lightness and easiness, and it kills love because bite. And the little ant goes straight to your head, making you unconscious because of tension. And so at that moment, there is disturbance and distress. Acha, now Baba is giving us the blessings. To those who are always Mahavir, to those who stabilize themselves in a powerful stage of consciousness, to those who in every thought, word, and action follow in Baba's steps and move with the Father, to such life companions who always keep their own specialities in front of them, and so bid farewell to all weaknesses, to those who constantly allow the powerful seed of thought to be able to give constant fruit, to those who at all times taste the unlimited visible fruit, to those who constantly swing in the swing of all attainments, to such souls who are always powerful. Bap Dada's love, remembrance, and namaste. And we all say namaste to Bap Dada. Om Shanti. So today's blessing about the confluence age, and Baba said, eat the visible fruit. And there was lots of things of entire, but today Baba said, follow Father, but still the virtues from each one, like take virtues, specialities, and that's what Baba did. And so that is very good, Murli. Om Shanti, thank you.
I think what was helpful in the context of this discussion on invocation, there was one of the extracts was on using your power of thoughts. And Baba was saying that until now, the sound is spread by your sound and not by your thoughts. Because most of the time you don't stay in this stage of silence. You stay in this stage of sound. And what was helpful in this Murli that we've just heard, what was the date of the month?
9th March 1984.
Was we got a better understanding of the mechanics of how we can develop this service through the power of thought, whether it's for service of oneself or whether it's service for others. Baba was breaking it down for us. So firstly, thought is the seed. Secondly, our attention on that thought, our awareness of that thought, that's the land. Thirdly, Baba's knowledge, thoughts of knowledge, understanding is the water. And fourthly, Baba's remembrance is the sunlight. So every pure and powerful thought we have, it needs to grow. And it's only going to grow when it has good land, good soil, good water, and good sunlight. So Baba is saying that just having the thought is not enough. You then have to sustain that. And as you sustain it, that thought will grow in power. It has potential to bear fruit. But if the soil, the water, the sunlight is not right, that thought won't bear fruit. So Baba is saying to us that this is how you can develop that experience of using thoughts, firstly, to transform yourself, so having pure and powerful thoughts for your own transformation and seeing that through. Then service for the world as well. So whatever thoughts you're having for service, spend that time sustaining that thought, feeding that thought, and then see how that then bears fruit in terms of Baba's service. And then more generally, it could be just dealing with life and things that you have to do in your life. And we probably underuse our power of thought there as well. But just having a thought and seeing how it influences the drama. So it's this experimentation of thought, utilizing the power of silence, because mainly plants grow through sunlight. And so it's filling yoga within all of those elevated thoughts that then creates very powerful fruit. I thought that was helpful in terms of that wider conversation on invocation. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, no, I don't come in, but also Baba said about ant and mouse, which is important because we had this, we read the Murli last week of 7th of March, and this is 9th, 2 days after Baba used to come every other day. And so this was 9th of March, 1984. And so Baba continued the theme like Mahavir, but Baba was pointing out that become solutions. Don't you yourself, don't become the obstacle, nor, but solve the things. Don't become obstacles. Remember? And so Mahavir, and so ant and mouse. So explain that.
Yes.
Ganesh.
So in fact, before that, Baba was saying that it's just a grain of sand that can bring you down. So what happens is that same mechanism can be used for weaker thoughts as well. you have a wasteful thought, a negative thought. You're then giving it the soil of attention. You're bothered about, say you're bothered about something. You're then giving it that soil of attention. You're not really using Baba's Murli, but you're using some other level of understanding to inform that negative thinking. And then you're not having yoga with Baba, but what you're doing is you're having yoga with that situation or with that person. So similarly, you're growing weeds, aren't you? You're growing thorns. You're growing brambles. So Baba's saying that can be just these grains of sand that come in the way that you shouldn't really be getting bothered about. But if you think small things can really affect you sometimes greatly. So Baba was saying that sometimes an ant, a thought like an ant, just gets in your head and you can't get it out of your head. It's just round and round. It's really bothering you. And it brings you down. Sometimes the thoughts that you have, they're like mice. And mice can be very subtle, but ultimately they spoil your entire grain, like your whole store. You have to throw everything away, right? If you've got mice. So it'll spoil everything that you've accumulated. So Baba's saying when Maya comes as a mouse, then you will feel that you will begin to prioritize issues above love, above harmony. So the lightness and the love will go, and you will be feeding the issue. And so Baba's saying that don't let anything bring you down from your lightness. Don't have all these fluctuations. But it comes down to what is the seed of thought? Where is my attention? Where is my understanding being used? And where is my yoga? So through the day, we're either feeding the powerful and pure thoughts, or we're feeding the useless, the ordinary, the wasteful, or the negative thought. I thought that was helpful. You see, when it comes to invocation, we're going to need to concentrate, you see. So I was saying earlier, because do you remember the comic books I used to read where Amar Chitra Katha, where why I know so many Hindu stories is we used to have children's class every Saturday morning after the morning class, and in the hall where morning class was, the brother, who's a BK brother, he was also like in charge of that community center. And they had all these Hindu story comic books. And he used to give them to us or let us read it. So I didn't used to like to read books generally, but I used to love reading comics. And this is why I know so many Hindu stories. And in that, I just remember that such and such a person stood on their 1 foot 50 years, 100 years, sometimes even more than that. And they just stood very still and they just fed one mantra, one thought. And only after doing that over a long period of time does the deity appear in front of them to bless them, to give them a boon. And so Baba's saying that for you, it's all much easier, but it's still about concentration. It's still about where is your attention? Because whatever you give attention to within yourself, that's what is going to grow. So I think this was very helpful for us to understand that mechanic, those mechanisms, so that we can use it to invoke Baba, invoke our perfection, invoke our original sanskars and original stage. So over to all of you. Would anyone like to come in with your reflections?
Shanti. I think one of the things that you were saying, sometimes we have issues and we leave it and we let it grow. And it's really what will block us from being concentrated, block us from where we need to go. And Baba has given us all the tools that when something happens, no matter how small it is at that time, put a full stop and treat with it. Because sometimes we tend to keep it in the background and it grows. So for me, it is very important that whatever is happening and might be seen as something as negative, whatever situation, treat with it as where Baba knowledge is concerned. Part of karmas, look at my original sanskars where I need to be so that I don't carry that forward and prevent my growth. Om Shanti.
Thank you. And as I was listening to the Murli, I was just reflecting on myself because Baba was saying, don't make things big. And often it's our specialities which can become our weaknesses. So I have this natural ability for scrutiny and analysis. And I use it in my work. As you can see, it comes in very useful for understanding the Murlis. But that same speciality, when you apply it to ordinary things, can make small things big because you're analyzing too much, you're scrutinizing too much. And that's what can make me heavy. That's what can waste my time and my thoughts. So, just listening, I was thinking, okay, let me take that on board. It's not the priority at this time to go into these things. Just let the small things be small. You become bigger.
It's all part of the drama. When we understand drama, and yes, confluence age, we creating the drama to come. What kind of drama do I want? Yes, so things are fixed within the drama, but what do I want in this drama to come? These little things that retards the soul. So really, with the call of time, where we're seeing things that are happening, what is important now, is to keep this focus, be concentrated in what is needed. So all these little things that come in our way, obviously, and we spend so much time in waste, and the waste depletes the soul, the energy, everything. But I think it's the understanding really of the karmas, Baba's knowledge of the cycle. Once we keep all this in front of us, we will create more. Now is the time is to pack up and finish where karmas are concerned. And I've always said this to myself. I didn't come here to, before I didn't know, but now I know, I didn't come here to create a good or bad karma, but to make karmas right. Make everything right, not to look at creating anything, good or bad. So at golden age, everything will be neutral. You're not creating or you're not or anything like that. So now it's just to let go. Whatever comes, whatever scene is in front of us, is to be able to empower the self to manage to cope and to see it as benefit. Really, Baba says, see everything that is happening now as beneficial. So it depends on how we see it, whether I allow myself to create a loss, or do I take the benefit in it? Shanti.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come in? Okay. Do you have any final? Well, thank you all. I thought it was a really interesting topic and interesting discussions and points.
Om Shanti.
Hello, Julie.
I'm on my way to the dentist, so I'm driving. Listen, I just have a question. I wanted to know, when we finish our 8 births in the golden age and we enter the silver age, do we begin to create karmas then?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I think what Baba explains to us is we only begin creating karma from the copper age. I don't think we do in the silver age either. I think he puts a blessing on us that lasts the full half cycle. Do others agree with that? Is that also your understanding? I think so.
I do feel here that golden and silver age is the return, is what we would have accumulated. So as you say, it can be seen as a blessing. So there's no creation, and karmas are neutral at that time. You don't have any loss. I think it's only really in the copper age when, for me, because I always ask the question in the beginning, how come if you're so pure and clean, where does these negative traits come from? My thinking on that is that what I have not finished or conquered at the confluence age, some of those things, yes, I will clean up karmas going back home, but the others that I have not finished, say I had traits of anger that was still there, I see that as becoming latent within the soul, and then actions because it's now performing actions on a body conscious level, not on the soul level anymore. Then something will trigger those negativity that retained within the soul to emerge again. That's how I see, because I always questioned in the beginning, really, if I'm so pure and clean, where does this negativity come from in the copper age going forward? So that's my thinking on it.
Thank you. Lynette, Ben, did you want to come in?
Ambika Ben just answered the question, because Baba said he created the golden and silver ages. And if he creates it and he puts his children there, there is no negativity. I don't think karma plays a part in it. I think karma is neutral in those ages.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. And I thought there was an interesting small excerpt. I think it was Wednesday's Murli from one of Mama's class, Wednesday or Thursday's Murli. And Mama was explaining in that in Hinduism, they view the stages of energy, the sattva, rajas, and tamas, the sattva, the raja, and the tama, as coexistent. So even in the golden age in Hinduism, they will show deities and demons existing together, that there must always be these three energies. And she was explaining that it doesn't really make sense. And once we receive Shiv Baba's knowledge, if golden and silver ages are heaven, you haven't got a mixture. You haven't got demons there. And so what she was explaining is this energy is connected with time. So when it's the golden and silver ages, then the energy is sattvic, sattva. When it's the copper age, the energy is rajas, which is the mixture between sattvic and tamasic. And now in the iron age, all energy is tama, it's tamasic. So she was connecting it with time. That's why the energy changes. That's why there's that degradation. and it's not that they coexist. So she was insisting that it's not possible for anything to be sattva. Everything in this age is tama. So when it's rajas and tamasic energies, I think we create karmic accounts. But I think when the energy is sattvic, we don't create any karma. Does that answer your question, Judy Ben?
Thank you so much for clearing that up. Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, I did. I really was wondering. So actually, in the silver and the age and the golden age and the silver age, we are not creating karmas.
That's right. I think we get liberated from that. So it's another topic for another day in more detail, but it's interesting how in each of the ages, the karma, the dynamics of karma also change. So for example, at confluence age, Baba says, now for you, everything is multi-million fold if you follow Shiv Baba, everything you do. So that doesn't happen in other ages. So, you know, the dynamics of karma are also according to the age. So I think what Mama is bringing out, that time is significant when it comes to understanding the energies, understanding karma. I think that's right.
Thank you so much, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Okay, let's stop for today. I thought lots of good discussion. Thank you, those of you that could attend live. Always great to see you and have your input. And also warm regards to all of you tuning in later on through the YouTube channel. So have a great week, everyone. Om Shanti. Om Shanti, everyone.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Have a good week.